Hello, 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 and welcome back to my channel. Or if it's your first time here, welcome. Today, I'm just gonna drop in real quick and tell y'all another story. So the way I do these story times is, I'm a Christian, like I said before. God just puts it on my heart to share certain things when it's time for me to share. Now this particular story is a very short story. I'm not going to have you here for 30 minutes like I have in the past. But it's basically something I want to share more for safety reasons. Now, like I've mentioned on my online dating story times, we are in a new time. I mean, we're during COVID, we're in 2020, and a lot more people are meeting people through online dating, right? Not gonna lie, I mean, I have signed up for online dating. Not very successful, but I'm just throwing it out there. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. No big deal. But I just want to say that when you are in the online dating world, you have to be very careful about dating strangers. I mean, just like you would have to be careful about going out on a date with someone you meet in the grocery store. It's no different. I mean, because every crazy person I've ever met, I didn't even meet or dated or married or what have you, or all the narcissists I talk about on here, I didn't even meet on online dating. This is a new thing for me. But so you can meet crazy people or narcissists or what have you in any way possible. I mean, you can meet them at the park. Like I said, I met my ex-husband at the park. You can meet them at the grocery store. You can meet them at church. Church is filled with them. So I'm not throwing shade on online dating. It's just another avenue to meet people. But I will say it is full of narcissists. Narcissists love social media. They love online dating. It's a perfect way so to meet people for narcissists. So you do have to be, on the lookout for that. But there's also another element of people that you really have to be on your guard when meeting strangers. And this is what this story time is about. A very special element of people you're going to run into, not particularly narcissists, but in this case, oh my goodness, this was the craziest thing ever that happened to me. So this particular thing happened on Plenty of Fish. Not going to say that's the best online dating site, but I have an account on there. And this happened a while back. I want to say when COVID first started. Ran into someone on there, was attractive, my age, which that's a prerequisite. They said they were Christian. That's another prerequisite. They seem to be checking all the boxes as far as that goes. They seem to be articulate, educated. Conversation was flowing real nice. They were attractive, according to the pictures. They didn't seem to be a catfish. I'm pretty good at picking those out. I did a story time about catfish on online dating and how you can tell those. I had one I shared a story about on here. But we got to the point where we actually exchanged numbers, had some phone conversations, and he was like, I'd love to take you to dinner. Now, during our conversations, he told me that now where I live is a pretty small place, so you pretty much have seen everybody around here, or one of your friends has already dated them, or maybe been married to them, or one of your friends' cousins, sisters, or whatever. It's kind of like a soap opera place, right? It's like everybody's got 3 degrees of separation around here. And this particular person I've never seen before, never run into public before, never seen out before. So I was like, where are you from? So forth and so on. He said he was from another state. I'm not going to say where because I don't want anybody Googling this person. But he was from another state and he had moved here during the beginning of COVID. That's why he was on the site, to meet new people, which is perfectly acceptable, right? And that's what you do when you move to a new place. He had already got a job, so he was employed, new to town. I'm like, well, what brought you to Omaha? And he said, well, he his father. His father lived here, so he wanted to be closer to his father. I'm like, okay. He didn't have any kids, never been married. I'm like, well, it's kind of a little bit unusual for someone in my age group. And I'm like, oh, it's kind of, whatever. It's cool. Maybe just never found the one or didn't work out. So, okay. But still a little bit unusual to meet someone my age with no kids and never been married. But that was a story. He moved here to be close to his father, and everything seemed to be all right on the up and up. Well, he eventually said, I'd like to take you to dinner. And I was like, okay, well, that seems like it would be cool, So we agreed on a day, we agreed on a place. And when that day rolled around, he texted me and said, well, I don't have a car yet. So now, meanwhile, his profile on Plenty of Fish, it asks you if you have a car, and he said he does. I mean, I think someone my age should have a car. Sorry, I'm not a gold digger, not materialistic. I have my own assets. But I just think that's just a basic thing that someone my age should have. And it said he had a car, so that was kind of a lie. But he admitted he didn't have a car, and then his excuse was because he was new to town, he hasn't had a chance to get one yet. And I'm thinking, well, you didn't move here from Japan, so you should have been able to drive your car here from the state that you came from. But okay, so he said, would you be able to pick me up? And I said, sorry, guess I don't pick up strangers because you're still essentially a stranger. I don't pick up strangers in my car to go on a date, with someone I never met in person. So I said, is there any other way that you can get there? Like Uber? I mean, Uber is easy. 1, 2, 3, phone app. Takes like $8 to take you wherever you need to go around this area. Can you get one of your friends, your father, somebody to drive you down there and come pick you up? I mean, don't tell me you're not resourceful enough to do that. You want me to come pick you up, a total stranger? But he was like, oh, well, no, like he couldn't do that. So I was just like, well, I guess we're not going to dinner. And then I kind of ghosted him because I'm like, no, that's not going to work. And then something wasn't sitting right with me. And I had to think, why doesn't this grown man have a car? And I thought, did he just get out of jail or prison or something? Because that would be the only thing that would make sense out of this whole situation. No kids, never been married, moved here during the beginning of COVID to be with his father. I don't think so. So I did have his name. He actually did not lie about his name. Unlike almost every other crazy person I've ever met or narcissist, because I don't think this guy was a narcissist. He was just hiding his past. But every narcissist I've ever met was smart enough to give me the wrong middle name or the wrong first name or use his middle name as his first name or do something so I couldn't Google him. This guy, I knew his name. Like he gave me his correct name. So I was able to Google him, and then I didn't Google him here, obviously, because he hasn't been here long enough. So I Googled him in the place that he came from. Boom. All this stuff came up. So then I went to like the Department of Corrections and looked up all the information there. Found all these court cases regarding his situation. Long story short, he was a convicted murderer. He'd been in prison basically his entire adult life. You heard what I said? Murder. He wasn't a convicted drug dealer. He wasn't a convicted burglar. He wasn't a convicted embezzler. He was a convicted murderer. Okay? I think that's something you should probably tell somebody when you first meet them. So I don't know if he was released from prison at the beginning of COVID because they were releasing a lot of people during COVID, because when I looked at his history, he had been denied parole several times because he had a long history of being bad in prison. You know, like being defiant and having drugs in prison, like weed or whatever, and fighting in prison and not following orders in prison. So like they kept denying his parole, but all of a sudden he got let out at the beginning of COVID. So I think that might have had something to do with why he was let out, and then they released him to his father, apparently, which it showed that's what happened. He wasn't here to just hang out with his dad, like he tried to say. So that's why he didn't have a car. Didn't have a car. Probably did have a driver's license because he just got out of prison. So, I mean, hey, he might have been totally reformed. I mean, I don't know. But the guy killed someone in a drug deal gone bad or something like that. I don't want to give too many details away because I don't want anyone to like go Googling around and try to figure out who this person is. But it wasn't even some situation when like he killed someone in self-defense or he was defending a family member's honor. It was like some crazy, terrible stuff. He like killed someone in cold blood and went to prison. Had all his parole requests denied. Finally got let out. Didn't bother to disclose this to me and wanted me to pick him up in his car to take me to dinner. So, no, I don't do that. I'm not picking up a stranger in my car. So I said all that to say, maybe he's not violent anymore. Maybe he is. Will he kill again? I don't know. Maybe he won't. Maybe he really is a Christian now. Maybe he found God in there. I don't know. He might be. But I'm going to tell you something. Let me decide. Like, if you meet someone, regardless of where you meet them, and you're a convicted murderer, you should disclose that and let the person decide if they want to continue on with you or not. Not everybody wants to deal with that. I'm done with the wounded bird rescuing syndrome. Like, I've done that my entire life. I'm not trying to do that anymore. I've never rescued a murderer, but I don't want to start now. Let me tell you something. I'm at the point where, I got to start thinking about retirement. And I want to retire in Florida on the beach. I want to retire in a condo on the beach overlooking the ocean. That's going to have a homeowners association, okay? When you have a homeowners association, they do background checks. So whoever I marry, because that's the point I'm at in my life now, I want to settle down, find a suitable partner that I can continue on into my retirement years with, not a narcissist, not a convicted murderer, et cetera, et cetera. And I want him to be able to pass the background checks when I'm ready to move into my condo overlooking the ocean. I don't want to have to smuggle him in past the homeowner association checks and sneak them in the back door. I don't want to do that. I just want a normal partner. So let me choose. So anyway, I said all that to say, be very cautious of who you're meeting, whether it be online or offline. If you're in the dating scene, which unfortunately I am, just kind of sucks at my age, but it is what it is. And I'm not the only one. So I'm just going to be fully transparent with this. We live in a world where, we're surrounded by felons. We're surrounded by narcissists. We're surrounded by selfish people with selfish pursuits in mind. We're surrounded by people in this society that aren't on the up and up and actually finding a partner that has your best interest in mind, that's honest, that is not a criminal. Not saying you can't be a reformed criminal. Not saying, you don't deserve a second chance in life. But I'm just saying, let your partner decide if they want to deal with that. we need to be more cautious in this society. And sometimes you might actually come across rapists. Now we live in a society where there's actual sex trafficking. You could come across someone, hey, you might go meet them for a date, and they might put you in the back of a van, and you might be getting sent over to Russia to be part of someone's harem. I mean, there's no telling. So I just want to send this message out to just not let your guard down, not be too trusting. I know so many people that are so trusting, they just think everyone is basically good, and for the most part, people are good. But there's a lot of bad people in the world. And this person might not have been bad. He might be totally fine now. I don't know. But to me, it raises a red flag that you're not being transparent up front and telling me, you know what, I'm just going to be totally honest with you. I moved here because I'm on parole. And I was released to my family member here. I didn't have anywhere else to go. My father lives here, and that's why I'm here. And then let me decide. Maybe I would have said, knowing the kind of person I am, I probably would have been like, you know what, this might not work for me as from a relationship standpoint. But I mean, we can be friends. I can be your friend. I can help you navigate this area. I can help you tell you about the area. We can be cool. I probably wouldn't have been mean to him. But let me decide. The fact that you didn't disclose that is concerning. So we need to be vigilant, and we need to take on the responsibility of protecting ourselves. So that's why I made this video. Okay, not to be gossipy or anything like that, but just tell people, always be cautious and protective of yourself. That's part of self-care. You don't want to be taking yourself down roads that you could have prevented with a few steps up front. And that's it. So I just wanted to come share that message with a little story time. I will say, quite honestly, after I found out that information, I did not have any further communications with this person. I just, that's it. He did try to reach out to me a few times, but I ghosted him, which is tacky, and it's not cool to ghost people. But in that case, I felt like it was appropriate. I went ghost, like the Pac-Man ghost. I went full ghost. That was a little scary. Anyway, take care of yourself out there in these streets. Protect yourself at all times, and subscribe so you can be ready for the next story time, because I'm sure I'll be back with one. I got lots of stories for you. Have a great weekend, or day, morning, night, whenever you decide to look at this. I know I have terrible lighting. My lights in here are awful. I'm going to have to work on that. Maybe next time they'll get better. Take care. Thanks.